Welcome to Quality Care Podcast, where we talk about self-growth, soul care, sister chats. I'm your host, Xara, and this is the first official episode of Quality Care. Thank you so much for watching my first official episode of Quality Care. And today we're talking all about, is self-care selfish? And the reason why I even started this whole podcast is because I love hygiene, self-care, beauty maintenance. Like if you know my regular content, my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's all about like, what can you do? Like, like the face mask, how can you help like the beauty maintenance? But I feel like self-care goes way deeper than that. And so I wanted to create a space where it's like a tight-knit sisterhood community because I am a middle child. Not only am I a middle child, but I have 4 other sisters and I am right in the middle. From 5 of us, I am the middle child. So I can be an older sister. I'm also a younger sister, so I could give older sister advice, but I can also get older sister advice from you. So I just wanted this to be a space where we could just talk about deeper things because me and my sisters, whether it's in the car, whether we're like traveling or anything like that, we're talking, having the most randomest conversation. And so I wanted to just have that community here with Quality Care. And so for the first official episode, I wanted to talk about, is self-care selfish? Is everything that we do, is it selfish? Is it not? What I say is yes and no. It can be selfish, but also you need self-care. And the reason why I even brought up this topic is because I've been wanting to talk about this, especially because the past couple of years, I feel like the self-care movement has gone, like I've seen it go past the point of just taking care of yourself and building yourself up, becoming the best version of yourself. But some of the messages that some videos I watch, I'm like, wait, has it gone too far? Like, what do you think? It can go too far because when you're all about me, you're the center of your life. You're constantly worried, thinking about you, how you look, constantly looking in the mirror, like over analyzing your body, having that hyper awareness of yourself and of your life, and everything is about you. Yes, we do have to be taken care of, but when it gets to the point that it's just only you don't really you're not thinking like in a community way. You're only thinking about yourself, especially in the US. Like it's all about individualistic. So it's like thinking about yourself. Like we are raised to just think about ourselves. And, I come from a culture, I'm born in Ethiopia. I came here when I was 8, but I see it with my parents and my family where they think about community first. Like it's not just themselves. It's like, okay, does this person need help? Like when there's a funeral, the way they gather and they are there for somebody that they barely even know, because it's just all about community. Some, like, they take care of each other. That's how they're grown up. And, I guess I came here when I was 8, but I'm 26 now, and I basically grew up here, and I could see the difference of like growing up in the US and like how my parents already grew up and my family and everything like that. It's like they think about a community. We think about ourselves and like, are we taking care of, like, let me go first? Because if you think about it, honestly, we're humans. Like, we're selfish beings. Like, we came here alone, we die alone. We hear that all the time, right? Being human, like, we think about ourselves. Like, if you're hungry, you're gonna go eat. You're not gonna be like, did everybody else eat in this room? Like, we're not talking about like, a gathering and you're the host. I'm saying like, you're thirsty and there's a cup of water right there. You're not gonna make sure, did everybody drink? You're gonna go drink because we have to take care of ourselves. Like that's just how we are. The self-care movement that I'm talking about is like almost this hyper awareness of like comparison and being like a perfectionism. It's almost like you have to get to this point of like, like when you're talking to somebody and you're thinking like, where do I put my hands? How is my like face? Am I smiling? When I tell you that used to go through my head, especially like through my teenage years and like early 20s, it's like, I was just hyper aware of myself and what I was doing. And so I would really think about myself like in a conversation, I wouldn't be present. I wouldn't be there. I would just be focusing on myself. Like, is my eyes moving too much? Am I standing weird? Am I slouching? And I'm not really listening to the other person. And I think that's where it goes, like, where we think about ourselves too much. I actually saw a video where it was saying that if you think about yourself too much, it actually causes anxiety because it's all about you and like being hyper aware, and you're too you're not getting yourself out of your head about yourself. Another thing about the whole self-care movement that makes me think like, okay, maybe it is selfish is, like I've heard a lot of people say, I don't owe anything to anyone. And I think, yes, like basic explanations and what you do, why you did, why it's your favorite color, why you're wearing this, you don't have to. But I think what we do owe to others is like just basic human kindness, like just being kind to others. I think it's just like, it should just be part of us. It shouldn't be something we're doing a favor for somebody or we're only doing it because they did something for us. And I think I'm saying basic things, just basic kindness, greeting others. Just if somebody needs help, you'll help them. Obviously, with us women, like the men, what I'm trying to say is if there's a man that needs help on the side of a road, we don't have to stop, okay? There's like boundaries about it, but just basic human decency, is that what it's called? Like just being kind to others. I feel like you lose that when you're so focused on yourself and thinking like, oh yeah, it's me. Only me. Like if I'm first, it should be me also, not me first only, or something like that. It's like, shouldn't be me only, but it should be me also. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And so when you're constantly thinking about yourself, what you're gonna wear, what is next week, like how am I gonna this, it takes you out of the present time and takes you to the future or past. And that's what causes that anxiety. I have been there where I'm thinking about myself so much. When I first started my self-care journey, so like beginning of college, I started journaling, getting to know myself. Like I thought all of that was dumb, honestly, because it was like, how do you get to know yourself? But when I used to like, talk to guys in college and like maybe they stop talking or like they randomly ghost or something, I felt a way about myself and I was like, you know what? I have control of my life. So let me just get to know myself. So I started the self-care journey. And what came with that is that was also the same time I rededicated my life to Jesus. And it was just like me trying to figure it out. So I would watch all these videos of like, self-care, almost like self-love videos. But I remember it got to a point where it was like only care about yourself. Be very protective from others. And I think that comes from a place of like being hurt. You kind of like get closed off. So like when, let's say like for me, like when I was talking to guys and everything, like, and it was like, me personally, I don't usually put myself out there. So when I get an ounce of rejection, especially at that time, I was like, nope, like I'm shutting off. I'm not going to give other guys a chance. Like it was almost like that. And then these videos that I was watching, they were telling me like, yes, you're doing a great job. Like close yourself off. Don't, you have to protect yourself first. But obviously have your boundaries, but that's not exactly what self-care is. And so I remember with that like self-care time where I used to watch all those videos, I got to a point where I was like, men are trash. Like, I don't think that anymore. But when it got to that point, that's how I felt like maybe is the self-care? Like, is it going too far? Because at this point, I'm not even taking care of myself. I'm putting others down because it's like, if it's not only me, then, that's not it. Like one person did something to me. Yeah, I'm shutting that off. And there's a statement that I put out there making, telling my brain a certain way. It felt like I was the center of my life. Everything revolved around me. And that causes things because when you're in friendships, relationships, if you think everything is around you, you're not willing to compromise. You're not willing to meet the other person in the middle. And so that's how I felt because it's like, if it's not my way, then I don't want it. Self-care is really kindness and community because I would hate if I get to the end of my life and I think, oh yeah, I only cared about myself. I only did this for myself. Like I would hate that. Like we have community for reasons and we're not meant to be alone. Like even the Bible says man should not be alone. That's why God even created others. He created Eve. We're not just supposed to be by ourselves, isolated, only taking care of ourselves. And I feel like a lot of times, especially scrolling TikTok, Instagram, social media, I feel like all of us do that. And I know you have seen a video where you just know how the comment section is going to be. You just know how the comment section is going to be. Like you open it and it's somebody criticizing or someone saying like, who asked you? No, I don't like the shirt you're wearing. Like, oh, she thinks she's all that. And that really says like, there's also this thing called the bean soup theory. Basically, this girl was making something like cooking in the kitchen with ingredients. So she adds black beans. And so somebody under the comment says, hey, I'm allergic to black beans. Like, I feel like that is an example because it's like you can remove the black beans. Like, this is for the community. She just put it out there for a lot of people to watch it. But even me doing social media, I do see some comments where, I suggest something for your skincare and it's like, what if I'm allergic to niacinamide? And I'm like, don't use it. I'm just sharing something that worked for me. I feel like scrolling really does that to us because I catch myself. This is an honest space, right? I catch myself sometimes being like that, like almost thinking for myself. Something I had to remind myself a bunch of times. Like, thinking only about myself is not self-care. I remember getting offended so easily. I remember cutting people off without giving them grace. Like, yes, I feel like the same time, but where I met the fork in the road and I separated is when I saw like Jesus' characteristics. He definitely had self-care, which we'll talk about on the other side of like why self-care matters. But he gave grace. He had community. And you think like what the world tells you, like put yourself in the middle, be obsessed with yourself. Like it's only you, like you. And then on the other side of like what Jesus does, because I'm a follower of Christ. And when I see what he does, it's not all self-centered. It's to give God the glory. And so every day when I wake up, it's like, God, use me for your vessel, because it's like, whoever meets me will meet you. Like that's how I pray, because it's like, I am representing him. And I know for sure that I'm not supposed to be the center of my life. He's supposed to be it. So that's for me, and that's just what I believe in, how I live my life. He also says, carry your cross daily. And that is not me being in the middle. How am I carrying my cross? Like, denying myself, denying the things I want. Like that also goes with obedience and, having, not like delayed gratification, not having the thing you want now and just like working for the thing. That's denying yourself daily. And I think that's a big part of self-care. Romans 15:2-3 says, each of us should please our neighbor for their good, to build them up. For even Christ did not please himself, but as it is written, the insults of those who insult you have fallen on me. So this really talks about community. So he didn't even put himself in the middle. He was the God, okay? He was the God. And he didn't even put himself in the middle. Obviously, God is like his father. And he lived here the same life as we did with the same emotions. And so I think that's what made me like see the difference, because it's like it can't be the same. Thinking about myself only can't be the same road as like how Jesus was. Sorry, if you hear the background, it's the AC and it's right here, but I don't think you can hear it. But if you do, that's what it is. Anyway, I wanted to say the wealthiest and rich people that I've met are the kindest. And the thing is, you would think they'll be self-centered, only thinking about themselves, taking care of themselves. And maybe you're also thinking like they have enough money to take care of others. But if you think about it, that habit was formed when they didn't have that much. So all these, these rich people and everything like that are giving, they had to practice that when they didn't have that much. And that is not putting themselves in the center only, okay? Because it's good to take care of yourself, but when you do it to the point of like, it's only me, I'm gonna get my own mansion, I'm gonna have all of this, that's when it gets to the point where it becomes selfish. And honestly, I do have times and moments where I'm thinking about myself way too much, and I feel it, where I'm thinking about my worries and I'm not in community as much. And you know what helps me? Like, I promise you, when I go serve others, whether it's community service, whether I'm going to church, just meeting others, it puts me out of my head about thinking about myself, and I think of others. And I know a lot of people say like, whenever you're so, especially in the US, if you live in the US and you're thinking about yourself so much, people say like, go serve, or go do a mission trip or something where you see others living a totally different life that makes you appreciate yours more. And so obviously you don't have to go to like, I don't know, Colombia to serve others. You could do it here too, but just seeing other people's perspective and like just the way they live, it makes you appreciate yourself and your life more, makes you live in the present. Honestly, just puts yourself aside to just not focus on, not everything's like revolved around you. So that part about self-care, being selfish, I understand that you could just be more anxious, greedy, isolation. Like I could see where it could get to that point. And at the same time, self-care does not have to be selfish. There's a way to do self-care where you're thinking about yourself, filling your cup, helping others, because how are you gonna help others if you don't help yourself? How are you gonna love others if you don't love yourself? J-O-Y is like Jesus, joy, Jesus, others, yourself. But I think it should be J-Y-O, Jio, Jesus, yourself, others. Because before you come at me, I think putting Jesus in the center for me and then finding myself through him, filling my cup every single day before leaving out the door, and then I can help others with what I have, because you can't really help others with an empty cup. That's something that a lot of people say, but I really believe that. So how can you fill others' cup if your cup is empty? I feel like this is the quote of the year. Take care of yourself before you become a hater. Let me say it again. Take care of yourself before you become a hater. This is so true, and this should be the quote of the year. I heard this girl say it on TikTok a couple months ago, and it stuck by me because I never knew how to explain that, but that's exactly what it is. So self-care does not have to be selfish, because we do need to take care of ourselves. And the way we take care of ourselves is not only like face mask and everything like that, obviously, but inner work. Because I see these comments of like people hating on others. There's actually pages where people just hate on others. Like, this is what happened, and it's like different things and breaking news and all of that. And it's like, how did you get to that point? And honestly, like the ones with no profile picture, hating on others, like how did you get to that point? It's because you don't like yourself. Like, it's because you haven't done that self-care. If you really healed, I don't think you get to a point where you leave hate comments on other people's pages. And it only doesn't have to be leaving comments and everything like that. But in real life, you being jealous of somebody when they have like some great news, or low-key like hating on them, I know we all have. I'm gonna admit it. I have too in the past, where I felt like, why are they getting like that opportunity that I should be getting? And so it kind of makes me like mad about it, and like I should be there. And that's the point where it gets to a point where you're almost hating, because it's like, oh yeah, like I could do better or something like that. I feel like a lot of us have gone through that, but if you don't take care of that, it's gonna turn into hatred. If you hate yourself, you're gonna bring that out to others. Even in Matthew 22-39, it says, love your neighbor as yourself. How can you love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself? It really just reflects back. So self-care is both, I can see where it's selfish and it's needed, but there has to be boundaries. There's a thin line between like taking care of yourself and being like egocentric. So like everything is about you. There's a line. And so I think like just finding that boundaries and how to do it. And I know like it's so important to look good, to smell good, all of that, you know. If you know my regular pages, you know, that's all I talk about, okay? I love it. And I think it's more important to work on yourself, love yourself, know yourself, work on that, filling your cup, and having a solid foundation. Because for me, waking up in the morning, spending my time with God before even leaving the house, because how am I almost like being filled up? That's how I think of it. So when I go out, I don't feel drained. And I know a lot of people, the one compliment I get with others is like, you're always at peace. And like, when there's crazy situations, I tend to stay calm. And I feel like I haven't always been like that. Like I used to be very anxious, shy, timid. And I think like where I saw that switch is when I rededicated my life to God. And every single day, it's like, I don't know what today holds, but I give it to you. And it's that peace that surpasses all understanding. I always say that to my sister. She's like, how are you so calm in this situation? I'm like, I got that peace that surpasses all understanding. And having a solid foundation is so important, because when the world rejects you, when you're going through a rough patch, when life throws something at you that you did not expect, that's when you need something to go back to. So for me, like, in everything, I go back to that, because if you don't have a solid foundation or something that you can run back to, there's another quote, a lot of quotes, honestly, it just keeps popping up. But there's a quote that says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. And so just standing on something, having your boundaries, I think that's the way of having self-care. And another thing I'll say is, whenever you have these boundaries and you're strict to it, life is easier. Obviously, life is not easy, but decisions are easier to make, because you know your boundaries, you know what to cross, you know what to not cross. And so whenever you know that, it's so much easier to stay in your path and not let anything like sway you. Or, even for me, when I was like 180 with my life, peer pressure became not as hard. And because I knew what I stood on, and I'm like, I'm not gonna break that boundaries. Like, I'm not gonna go drink. I'm not gonna do all of this, because it's like I have made a promise to God, to myself. It's self-respect. And so I think that's the part of self-care where it can uplift you. And when you're uplifted, when you're secure in yourself, you can help others. So some things you can do to actually implement like self-care that has helped me is obviously, you already know, reading my Bible, journaling, getting to know myself in that way. Being self-aware is good. It's just the hyper part, the hyper self-awareness. That's when it crosses the line, because now it's like too much thinking about yourself. But it's good to have self-awareness. It's good to be like, I need to work on this. This is something that I'm lacking. Journaling has been helping me, because once I write it and I read it again. So I don't just write it and I close it. I read it because it's like in my brain. It's like a brain dump. And then you read it back and you're like, oh wait, why did I say it like that? Like, am I doubting myself in this area? And so getting to know yourself, like journaling has played a big role in that, especially for me. And then also set boundaries. And how I did it, like the first time I started, like I still do it to this day, but writing it down, being like, I'm not gonna cross this. Like, I'm gonna wait till marriage. I'm gonna not drink. I'm gonna like, having those things that you truly believe, and it's not swayed by others, or you think, it's not true to you. Like, you saw someone else doing it, like, let me try it, but you don't really believe in that. Make these boundaries that are like aligned to you. Whether you believe in God, whatever it is with your life. Most of the things I look back in the Bible and in the Word, because if I'm acting out of that boundaries that I set for myself, I just look back at it and as a reminder, going back to the Word of like, exactly like, what would help me with this? So having boundaries, journaling, and also how you treat yourself, okay? Taking care of yourself. If you look taken care of, other people will give you respect, because they'll think like, oh, she looks taken care of, so I'm gonna give her respect. In the world we live in, I have seen when I haven't taken care of myself, haven't done the inner work, even my outer appearance, was treated different than now, where I take care more of myself, doing like beauty stuff, maintenance. Not only that, but as I open my mouth, you could see the work I've done, the things, it really reflects back. So whether we like it or not, whatever is in the dark will come out into light. So if we're secretly hating on ourselves, constantly thinking about like, oh my goodness, look at my stomach, like look at myself, this, constantly hating on ourselves, not taking care of ourselves, whether it's physically, so like exercising, what we eat, like not having that boundaries, overstepping it, doing something too much of anything is bad. And I think like not having that balance in our life, it shows out. Whether it's your skin is purging, whether, you don't feel great, you're always tired, it will show out somehow. And so I think having integrity and like self-respect, self-discipline. There was an interruption, but we're all good now. Boundaries, reflecting, like to just grow, knowing yourself is good. And the last thing with self-care that I think is so important and that I have seen a difference is honestly serving others and giving, letting others into your life. Like, you don't heal yourself to the point where you're not shutting others down, whether it's friend, a relationship, just meeting others. Like, I feel like with social media, it kind of gives us this illusion of knowing others. And especially like, I'm going to be honest, me doing social media full time, it gets to a point where you feel like your brain thinks you know a lot of people just because it's through social media and knowing others that way. But really like making connection outside of that has been harder for me, because it's to the point where it's like social media sometimes just consumes you, that you're seeing your identity kind of like being associated with that. But my identity is a child of God, okay? But sometimes it takes me that route where I'm thinking about myself too much. And this is me, like I'm constantly editing, looking at myself, camera, looking at myself. The next thing is like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to show off? And so when it gets to that point, that's when I really have to reevaluate. I'm like, am I thinking about myself too much? And then that's when it gets to a point where it's only me and I'm not letting others in, because I have so many people, which I love. Like, I love everyone that supports me. My brain thinks, oh yeah, we know a lot of people, but then you get out of that. You log off, you get off at nighttime, and it's like, do I know a lot of people? So I had to work on that, of like not being so shut off and not cutting people off because of like this one thing, giving grace to others And all of that, that's something I have learned. And like being 25 had made, I'm 26 now, but turning 25, that's when I really realized all of this. And it's like, I really had to reflect in my life. Like, where's my life headed if I'm going to keep this going? Overworking myself, not going to events because I have work to do, and like be almost doing like a workaholic. That really reflects back to me, and I don't want that. So, serving others, giving to others. I actually just recently served at this community center. It's like not community center, at my church for this community service. And there's this thing called Serve Day. And doing that, I'm like, I wanted to do more of that. Obviously, it was just like people with the church, and we made like snack packs for kids. And the kids weren't there, but I felt like there could be more things that I could go to. Yes, I do help family, whoever needs it. When I tell you I can help strangers, like that part is easy for me. I think it's the point of like connecting with others. That's when it gets a little harder for me. And so I need to work on both, because giving and serving others doesn't always mean you giving money or like braiding their hair or doing some type of service and cleaning their house. It doesn't always mean that. It could just be sitting down and listening to others. Moving myself, putting myself aside to let others in. And so that's a big part of self-care that I have been learning with journaling, boundaries, all of that I talked about. It is so important, but also add giving and also serving others. Because for me, like I am here, and I always have to remind myself, like I am here to serve others. Jesus did that for us. Jesus died on the cross. And so that was the biggest self-care act, because he put himself, like he denied himself. There was not even self in there. He did that for us. And so I think like serving others, I'm gonna make that more of a priority, just connecting with others. Yes, I've given, that part is easy, but connecting with others more, like, I don't know, going to, networking events and stuff like that. Like I have pushed back and like kind of said like, no, I'm not going to go to that part for the longest time. But now it's like connection is so much bigger than us. And also like it has gone down, and we've seen that because of, everybody says because of lockdown. I was sophomore year in college when that happened. College was supposed to be that time of of your life where you become so social and you get to meet so much. And so when that happened, after that, I felt like everybody was to themselves, including me. Okay, I'm not gonna be like others. I felt myself be more to myself. So I denied a lot of people, and I'm like, I'm gonna focus on my craft. And obviously social media worked out for me, and I am so glad, but I think it's something bigger than us. And so I think connection is so important. That is also part of self-care. Having a community is important. And so I think that's where, there's a line of like, yes, I agree, self-care can be selfish, but self-care is also important if you know how to do it like that, to the point where it's not becoming hyper-awareness, like perfectionism and all about me, like every single day. So I think that's where I agree with both, but I would love to know what you think. Is self-care selfish? Is there like a certain way that we should do it? Do you agree with me? Do you agree just one, self-care is not selfish? It's selfish? I would love to know, because I want this to be like a conversation. These questions for these episodes that I have, I want to know your thoughts. Like I want to know. Yes, I talked to my sisters about it, but I would love to know what you think. I love hearing other people's perspective. When I tell you I have learned so much just by reading, like things that, whether it's like my main channel, if I bring up some type of topic and I I read those comments and I really just sit and I'm like, wow, like I have never thought of this. Thinking of it this way, we can learn from each other. So I just want this to be a conversation, okay? But I hope you enjoyed this first official episode of Quality Care. Quality Care is all on Spotify. I'm still trying to work on Apple. Hopefully I got it together, but Spotify, Apple, this is the main page for Quality Care. So this is where all the episodes will be dropped every other Wednesday. So I post once every 2 weeks. And so a new episode will come out. The visual and the audio will be out the same time, but I'm still trying to figure this out. Listen, I'm new to this, okay? I've never had a podcast. I'm starting this over. I don't really have a team. And so slowly I am building it up, and like figuring things out. But anyway, thank you so much. I would love to know like more topics that you would like to hear, because these are the type of topics like I would love to sit and just talk about. My sisters are gonna be a guest in here, and like some other people that I really look up to. You're gonna see them too, okay? So it's not just me every episode. Okay, that's okay. You're gonna see more of my face, the people that I love. Everyone's gonna be on this couch, okay? So stay tuned for more episodes, and also check out my main page, that's where I post all the self-care content. Like, not like this self-care, but like all the hygiene and beauty maintenance and, hygiene tips and everything like that. I love posting those videos. And if you want the short form content, I basically post every single day, whether it's like Instagram or TikTok. My handle is all the same. It's also in the description box. Thank you so much for sitting down, whether you're driving in the gym or anything like that, listening to me talk. Still getting used to this, okay, without cutting and stuff. I did cut a little bit, but thank you so much for watching the first official Quality Care podcast, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.